So, just before this starts, I'm sorry that Arnold and I are ping ponging between kind of long form sad update videos. I mean, I had the video about graduating a couple weeks ago, which wasn't sad, but it was sort of, a what's been going on long update just explaining where I was and why I wasn't uploading and stuff like that. And at the end it was supposed to be a hopeful, like, oh well, now I've graduated, everything's good now. Everything was kind of bad before, everything's good now, and now we start this sort of new chapter for the YouTube channel, and that was my update. Then Arnold had sort of an update on his channel, if you've seen it, just talking about, some stuff he's going through and how he was feeling and stuff that's going on. And so I'm sorry that now we're back, it's back over to me. Hopefully Arnold won't have to make another one, but now it's back to me. And so I just wanted to let you guys know a couple of things. Last night my grandfather passed away very suddenly. It was very different. I made a video when my grandmother passed away, I think. I can't find it, though. If anyone can find it, let me know. I don't know what it was called. I tried, like, keyword searching for it. I can't find it, so maybe, I don't know where it went. But it was very different because we were at home, and we watched it happen, and, I think for me and Arnold, that's going to process very differently than even just, when my grandmother died or anything like that, because it was just different. I think especially Arnold might be traumatized for a little bit, because Arnold's the one who did CPR and tried to do all the life-saving measures. So it's just not the same as when it happens in a hospital. Last night, we had to, first of all, the paramedics were here, obviously, and the fire and, ambulance and advance care teams were here. But afterwards, the police were here. We had to wait, and my grandfather's body was in the hallway for 3 or 4 hours until the police came and the coroner came and released him to the funeral home. And so it wasn't the same as when it happens in a hospital. It was very different, and very different for us all to be here and have seen it. So we just need some time. I'm still planning on doing everything that I talked about in the graduation video that I uploaded before. I don't want anyone to think that it's not going to happen. It's just going to happen a little bit differently. So I wanted to talk about that. It was supposed to be Fox and Neo week this week. We will reschedule that. The Oscars voting was supposed to close this week. We're going to leave it open until September 1st. Just to make sure, people can still vote and everything like that. And so Arnold and I don't need to start the next step of the Oscar stuff, because after voting closes, we would have to start the next step of everything. We're just going to leave it open, so we don't need to do the next steps for the Oscars, which was going to be contacting, other RWBY YouTubers and giving everyone their parts and kind of giving everyone their scripts. We're just going to leave the Oscars open so we don't have to do that. What was it? I'm running auditions to find someone to sing for Fox for a fan project I'm doing. The auditions were supposed to close tomorrow. I'm just gonna leave those open too. Basically, everything is just gonna kind of stay open. And Hunter and I have recorded our reactions to all of the RWBY soundtracks. They were all supposed to sort of go up like it was supposed to be 2 every day and then 1 day a break. What I'm gonna do is just try to get, try to get them all uploaded the week before Arnold and I go to the cruise and before I go to Boston. So it won't be this week, but we'll try to get all those up next week. Hunter and I have a couple commissions that people paid us to record certain things, so we're gonna get those commissions done, but I probably won't be recording anything else, at least for this month until we get to Boston. And then when I get to Boston, it's going to basically be the same as what I talked about in the graduation video. It's just that the timeline has shifted a little bit because I was supposed to record a lot more this month, but I don't think that that's going to happen. So that is basically the game plan, to upload at least all of the Ruby soundtrack reactions before we go on our trip. And then when I'm back in Boston, I'll finish recording the series that I was recording, which was Oshinoko and Arcane, and edit those and try to get those uploaded in September. And so it's just a little bit of a shift. And so I just wanted to tell you guys that that's what's going on. I don't know what else to talk about. It's really complicated. This was not far away at all. My grandfather lived with us since we were 4 years old. He was the one who helped us with our homework, who cooked meals for us, like basically, a second parent. And so it's definitely not far away at all. How people might think, I don't know, how other people might be a little further removed from their grandparents. This was anything but. He lived with us my entire life, our entire life. I'm just trying to think, just trying to think of what else. I guess I'll say this. He didn't suffer. He lived a long life. His birthday's actually today, so we're taking it. We're gonna say he was 94. He didn't, he didn't suffer. He lived a long, happy life surrounded by family. It's just, I guess it's just one of those selfish things where you're like, but I wanted a little more time. Like, I wanted you to walk me down the aisle. Couldn't you hold out just a little bit longer, right? Like, that's the sort of thing that for us we think about. Like, we know that he had a good life. He had a good long life. And even the last couple days, he was perfectly fine. Like, he was perfectly fine. He had a fall on Wednesday. He had a fall a couple days ago, but otherwise, he had a little bit of pain from the fall, but he was still talking. He was still coherent. Like, he could still have a conversation, and he was still, talking to us. And so it was a really sudden turn for it to have happened like this. Like, it wasn't gradual. When my grandmother passed away, it was very, like, you could see a gradual decline in her health, and so I think it was easier to accept. But there's difficulty in accepting that this happened because everything was fine yesterday morning before we left. And actually, so the past couple days, me, Arnold, and my sister have been the ones taking care of him after he fell because my mom was sick with COVID. I mentioned in the graduation. Did I mention? No, I wouldn't have mentioned in the graduation video because Arnold and I got COVID after. 20 people in our graduating class, we all got COVID, the entire Year in Town cast, and Arnold and I got COVID. So anyway, we got better, but we passed it on to my mom, so we were the ones that were taking care of him. And Arnold, Hunter, and I, we had a musical yesterday, and so we were leaving for a couple hours, and so we made sure he had everything that he needed, all by his chair and everything, like anything that he could have wanted, like jugs of water, medicine, like everything that he could have needed before we left. And he was like, thank you for everything. And I'm like, I don't know, like now it just has a different meaning. I don't know, like what did he mean before by everything? Everything that morning? Everything forever? Right? And so I kind of wonder about that, like everything. But I mean, it's like I said to him, right? I said, don't worry about it. Like, I love you, because why wouldn't you? That's all that he showed us, like he showed us that you take care of people until the very end, even if they don't remember you, because that's how my grandmother was. She was difficult in how her health had declined. And he took care of her until the day she died, because that's what you do for the people that you care about. You take care of them. You do not, you know, like send them, the paramedic said, "Oh, is he visiting?" And we were like, "No, he lives here." And the paramedic said, you know, "You guys are an exception. Like, I see a lot of cases where, a grandparent lives with the family and they just shove the grandparent in the basement or put them in a home, and like, if something like this happens, they're just coming to visit." And it's like, no, he was not in a home. This was his home, right? So that's just what he taught us. He taught us to never stop caring about people, no matter how difficult they are, no matter how bad their health is, to still care for them, because that's what he did for my grandmother. He showed us what love was, and that was love, taking care of someone. Like, even if they don't know who you are anymore, sometimes that's what he did. And I'm glad that at least he didn't go that way. Like, he still remembered who we were and everything. It's like I said, it's because Arnold and I had to watch it happen. I think that that's going to be the thing that we struggle with, especially because, and this is personal, I guess, but I used to have nightmares about this sort of thing happening, and then over, I don't know, a while, I don't know why, they kind of changed to like hero dreams. Like, oh, there's a house fire, and I scoop him up and I bring him outside or something. And like, they went from nightmares, and then one day they sort of just changed into like, oh, like they're like, I always rescue him instead, and it's not a nightmare anymore. And I'm not sure why that happened, but sometime that started to happen. It started to be like I could save the day instead. And so it's just one of those things where I'm like, am I, like, which one of those dreams am I going to have now? Like, like, are those nightmares going to come back? Or is it, I don't know. Or is it not going to happen anymore at all? Now I'm sort of rambling, so I guess I'll try to keep it brief again, but my grandfather was an amazing, amazing person. He was still, at 94 years old, he was still gardening. He was publishing stories in an Italian magazine. He was writing stories for an Italian magazine. He was still coherent. His memory was sharper than any of us. He could still take his own pills and like keep track of all the pills that he had to take and when, and, answer all the questions on the Italian game shows before they happened. And he was still very active and alive even at 94 years old. And so if there's anything I can say, I guess, I don't know, as a closing thought, it's never too late. He was 94. He had no interest in writing. He only started writing a couple years ago, and he started writing down all these stories to publish in a magazine. It's never too late to start anything. It's never too late to tell someone how much that you love them. I'm glad that he knew how much that I loved him just based on the last conversation we had, but I didn't know when Arnold and I and Hunter, when we went to the show, that it would be the last one. So you have to remember that, and that no matter how difficult someone may be being, he wasn't. But I'm just, again, thinking about my grandmother. Again, that you take care of them, and at least, even if they're frustrating you, you still have to tell them that you love them. So that's all I would say, I think. That's all I can think of saying. And he was funny. He still had a sense of humor, even while being old. And so those are things that you don't need to lose, as you get older. And he was very funny. He was very kind, and it cost nothing to be kind to other people. He had all these old traditions, like, oh, if you go over to someone's house, you have to bring them food, like stuff like that. Like, if you go somewhere as a guest, you need to bring sort of like an offering and stuff like that. Like, and I think that's why so many people loved him, because he was just a nice, kind, funny old man. And he was nice to everyone and he treated everyone with respect. He never, you know, he never said a bad word about anyone, at least in front of us, you know. But yeah, I just wanted to update you guys on what was going on because I'm not gonna be around for a little while. And, you know, that goes for Arnold too. Like, Arnold may not be related to us, but Arnold is family. And my grandfather considered Arnold family, so please keep that in mind for Arnold as well, that it's hard for him too, so just keep that in mind. And it was already hard enough with, you know, the other stuff that Arnold talked about when he made his video. It was already hard enough, so just keep that in mind. And I hope to see you guys soon. We'll be back soon. Just remember all the soundtrack videos were recorded before this happened, so just keep that in mind. But we'll still be back. We'll be back soon. Okay, bye guys.
Everything's okay?
Yeah, everything's okay.
Okay, tell Mom everything's okay?
I will.
Okay, I'll see you on Monday, okay?
Okay, I love you.
I love you too.